Station identification. Station identification in 5, 4, 3, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the internet world, welcome to another segment of Random House Stations. And yes, as you see before you folks, we're going to be talking about the NFL, the National Football League, which has been around for over 100 years, spanning well before our current Super Bowl era. Yes, there's certainly been momentous, spectacular events that are taking place in the NFL, from the regular season to the playoffs, to the AFC NFC Championship, to the grandest stage of them all, that being the Super Bowl. From Super Bowl III, where Broadway Joe and the New York Jets, in an upset victory, defeated Johnny Unitas and the Indianapolis Colts 16-7, to Super Bowl XXIII, where Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, and the San Francisco 49ers defeated the Cincinnati Bengals 20-16, whereupon in the last drive, last few seconds of that game, Joe Montana, who primarily threw his passes to Jerry Rice, surprisingly, when they got to the goal line for the game-winning Super Bowl-winning touchdown, he threw to John Taylor. But that's not what this video is about. Rather, this video is going to be about how the NFL is not so much about competitive professional football, but more so about the moolah, the guac, the dinero, the peso, a.k.a. the money, a.k.a. sports entertainment. So with that being said, we're going to consider a few lines of evidence to prove that the NFL is less about competitive professional football and more about sports entertainment. So sit tight, all right? Now, through the Fair Use Act, which is how we're able to use videos such as this, sports videos such as this for this video, let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we? Yes, the infamous AFC Championship game back in January 2002 of the 2001 season, which, ironically enough, was the same season where 9/11 occurred. So do you think it's really a coinkydink, or rather a coincidence, that the Patriots went on to have, Tom Brady and company, such a patriotic dynasty of a franchise? I think not, folks. But this game right here is remembered infamously for this one play that changed the trajectory of the NFL, the history of the NFL as we know it. Yes, this play right here, which many of you may remember, many of you may not. But with that being said, let's just watch on, shall we? Now, let's look at the replay on that play we just saw, shall we? Clearly a fumble. Recovered by the Raiders. Fumble-rooney, right? Clearly a fumble-rooney. Recovered by the Raiders. Now, as the announcer stated in this video, sealed the Oakland Raider victory. But no, it didn't. For those who remember, the call was reversed. It was considered an incomplete pass when it clearly was a fumble. The so-called no-tuck rule officially came into existence that never existed anywhere prior to in the NFL rulebook until then. So that's one line of evidence where the NFL will oftentimes use outside, off-the-field storylines such as 9/11. They'll use outside, off-the-field storylines to control the narrative, thereby not so much rigging, but manipulating and scripting the outcome of many games such as this one, showing us that it's not so much about competitive professional football, but more so about the guac, the moolah, the peso, the dinero, a.k.a. sports entertainment. So that's just one line of evidence. Let's consider another one, shall we? And sit tight, all right? Now again, through the Fair Use Act, let's travel ahead from the 2001 season, from that January 2002 infamous AFC Championship game between the Patriots and the Raiders, to about a dozen years later, more so currently, not too long ago, to the 2022 season. This here, January 2023, where Brock Purdy and the 49ers traveled to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles in this NFC Championship game. And this took place, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, early in the first quarter. This ruined it for Brock Purdy and company. This play right here. So let's just watch on, folks, shall we?
Defense as there is across the entire league. A lot of fake pressure coming. Purdy, Jack, floating in the air. It is. Is it picked? No, hit the ground.
Now, honestly speaking, I'm a 49er fan, but I'm first and foremost a fan of the facts. And the fact is and was and shall be that Brock Purdy did fumble this ball on this play. Unfortunately, as a 49er fan, didn't go our way. However, it was a fumble. Yet, that's not the focal point as to why I'm using this line of evidence to prove that the NFL is more about entertainment, the moolah, the guac, the peso, the dinero, as opposed to being more so about competitive professional football. If anyone remembers correctly, Brock Purdy was drafted overall last in the 2022 NFL draft that season. And for those who are drafted last, they're known as Mr. Irrelevant. That's why he's known as Mr. Irrelevant. Yet, in this play right here, Brock Purdy was quote unquote injured. So they say. That's what they say. But the interesting thing is, if you go back and look up in the archives of the NFL, anywhere on YouTube, so forth and so on, you will not find the actual cut scene that proved that he was not injured. What do you mean by that, you may ask? Well, in the cut scene, which is right after this play, Brock Purdy has his hands in his quarterback pouch and he's waiting with his team in anticipating keeping the ball, in anticipation of keeping the ball and driving the ball down the field for a touchdown. But that, of course, didn't happen because the play was reversed. It was a fumble. Yet the interesting thing about that is Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, was a rookie. That was his rookie season. Unlike many other quarterbacks who many times may have to come in the following season and they consider that their rookie debut season. No, this was his rookie season. He was a rookie here. He was one game away from punching the Super Bowl ticket for him and the San Francisco 49ers. And the interesting thing about being Mr. Irrelevant, as well as being a rookie quarterback, is that there's never been a Mr. Irrelevant to become relevant at all, let alone so soon on the NFL scene once being drafted in the NFL. As well as the fact that there's never been, as far as I can remember, of the Super Bowl era, a rookie quarterback not only leading his team to the Super Bowl, but winning it. And of course, Brock Purdy had a chance to do that the year after, and he didn't. But the interesting thing is that this has never happened. There's never been a Mr. Irrelevant, let alone a rookie quarterback, to lead his team to the Super Bowl. Do you know why? Do you know why? I'll let you think about it. When you think about it, if the NFL was to let a rookie, let alone Mr. Irrelevant, a.k.a. Brock Purdy here, for example, to go on and win a Super Bowl, which they may do now, to change the script, because the NFL can do it at once. Again, it's about sports entertainment and not about competitive professional football. But were he to have gone on and win the Super Bowl, here's the thing that when you stop and use some critical thinking, this will be the case. Want to know what it is? Drum roll, please. Brrr, boom. Hate to bust your bubble, but then again, sorry, not sorry. So here's what would happen. It would completely nullify and void the entire purpose and reality of the NFL draft, thereby losing money, sponsorships, fans, so forth and so on. That's right. Because again, it's not about competitive professional football. It's about the moolah, the guac, the dinero, the peso, aka sports entertainment. That's what's so interesting about this. Also, another interesting note is that Brock Purdy, who came from Iowa State, he set records at Iowa State. And not only that, he was for a time considered being recruited by then Alabama Crimson Tide coach Nick Saban in his coaching regime. Yeah, you can go look it up. But this is just another line of evidence to show that the NFL is primarily about sports entertainment and not about competitive professional football. But hey, don't let that stop you from watching football, because it's not going to stop me. I like to watch to see how it turns out. But these are just the facts, folks. Just simply put. But hey, I'm just a random dude chatting on the internet, so with that being said, keep it cool and keep it random.